The Healthcare Security Cast is sponsored by 3D Network Technology. Reliability is our core value. Visit www.3dnetworktechnology.com. And by Genetec, delivering security strategies for healthcare. Visit genetec.com. That's GENETEC.com.
Welcome to the Healthcare Security Cast, the podcast dedicated to healthcare security, safety, and emergency management. If you are involved with a healthcare security program or desire to be, this podcast is for you. Join the conversation as we discuss the issues that matter to healthcare security professionals while leveraging the expertise of healthcare security thought leaders and experts in personal development. And now, here's your host, Brian Hamilton.
Welcome to the Healthcare Security Cast for Tuesday, June the 16th, 2020. On today's show, we're joined by Chuck Andrews. Chuck is a law enforcement and security professional with 38 years experience and the founder of Friends of Chuck, a network of global security leaders. Before we get into the interview, just a quick reminder to connect with the Healthcare Security Cast community. We have a group page on LinkedIn as well as on Facebook. Also, feel free to connect with me directly. My name again is Brian, B-R-I-N-E Hamilton, and I'm on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, as well as TikTok. For direct links to any of this, you can also go to my website, brianhamilton.com. And now, without further ado, let's get into today's show. Today on the Healthcare Security Cast, we're joined by Chuck Andrews. Chuck, thanks for taking the time today. I really appreciate it.
Glad to be here. Always love talking to you on your show.
Awesome. Now, for those who may not be aware of who Chuck Andrews is, I don't think there's too many people, but for those who may not be aware of you, who is Chuck Andrews?
You know, how much time do we have, Brian? I'm gonna. Hey, yeah. So, Chuck is a guy in Houston, Texas, that's been in the law enforcement security world for a long time, right? So my story kind of goes like this. My friend Pete was riding a bike down the street in a little Texas town just south of Houston, where I grew up, and I said, "Hey, Pete, where are you going, man?" And he says, "Hey, I'm going to the police department." And of course, I said, "Are you in trouble?" He goes, "No." I go, "What did you do?" He couldn't convince me otherwise. He goes, "No, I got a police meeting to go to." So I remember that very moment in time, what I was wearing. I was standing in my yard. Pete was riding his Schwinn bicycle, the direction of travel, all that. So I went inside, told my mom. She goes, "Well, no, that's for juvenile delinquents." I go, "No, Mom, Pete's not in trouble. It's like some kind of police program, right?" And it turned out to be Law Enforcement Police Explorers. And I went to the very next meeting. Law Enforcement Police Exploring is a division of the Boy Scouts of America. You have scouting, right? And you have exploring. Exploring's been around since the late 50s, right? And it's career focused or career awareness. So I joined the Police Explorers, fell in love with public service and law enforcement, basically for the next 6 years until I was 19 years old, 13 till I was 19. I logged 4,000 hours in a police car out on patrol, working the jails, working dispatch, working administration, working everything there was. So basically, you donned a police explorer uniform, everything that a law enforcement war officer would wear on duty, handcuffs, back then mace, everything but a gun. And you went out on patrol and you learned. So that's kind of the beginning. And from there, I was in law enforcement and chief of police and chief security officer and all these things that I've done. I guess it's collectively since I was 13, it's been 42, 43 years of kind of being exposed in this business. So one day, about 7 years ago, a friend of mine said, "Friends of Chuck," right? And I go, "What are you talking about?" He goes, "Hey, man, I was teaching as a professor at the university, graduate school, and I needed somebody to teach that day because I was traveling." Imagine that, Chuck traveling. in our business. The students there were say, yeah, where's Professor Andrews? Yeah, where's Chuck? Yeah, blah, blah. He goes, you guys don't need Chuck. It's friends of Frank. I go, no. And they go, no, friends of Chuck, friends of Frank, friends of Chuck, friends of Frank. It ended up in this kind of back and forth, and that's kind of where it started. And we have a little group in Houston that we used to meet with on a monthly basis. And somebody at the meeting, my friends travel around the world. And when they do, they meet somebody from Texas. And they say, yeah, you know that guy Chuck? I mean, like in a bar in Dubai, right? And somehow I was connected with them. So this is like an ongoing joke. Everywhere they go, yeah, the guy with the hat. Yeah, that's me. That's Chuck. Yeah, we know Chuck. We met him here or there. So they said, well, you got to do this, friend. This is friends of Chuck. And another friend of mine who was a cop and a CSO, he retired and started this marketing business. And what you see here, the symbol over here, his son developed it. And look, it's all about relationships, right? That's the bottom line. Friendships over finances. Friends of Chuck is about dreaming big, knowing how to have fun, and basically getting shit done. That's what and that resonates with people. And I built that to probably 100,000 people around 100 countries now over many different years. So in a nutshell, that's the short version.
Awesome. Now, some of the things that you're doing just in relation to the whole Friends of Chuck network, you're working on SecurityTalkNow and JobTalk. So can you discuss those a little bit? What exactly is SecurityTalkNow? Let's start there.
SecurityTalkNow, I'm going to do this in the radio voice, is the buzz and chatter of security around the world. Real world and real talk on SecurityTalkNow. That's right. Anyway, that's what it's about, literally. Real world, real talk about what's going on in the security world, everything and anything, right? Particularly the things people don't want to talk about that we should be talking about to improve our profession. So having people come on and be very transparent and talk about things in our industry as they change. Everything from, uniformed security guards. How do they get to become security directors one day? How do they really go through the process? All the things that people don't talk about, right? So that's just an example of one of the things that we're going to have on the show. What are the barriers, right? What are the real barriers out there to really becoming a security director, out of becoming a uniformed security officer? What does that really, really look like? And kind of like Friends of Chuck, it's all about relationships, as it turns out, right? Having a good mentor, showing up to work on time, being involved, volunteering for everything, right? All these different things that you need to do in the real world in order to do that. That's an example of many things that you're going to find on Security Talk Now.
Awesome. Now, as far as Job Talk, obviously it's very, very timely what you're doing considering what's happening in the world. And, there's just a financial impact on businesses, and it's resulting in some people, unfortunately, being out of work or needing to find some kind of transition. So can you talk a little bit about the Job Talk Now?
Yes. So hashtag Job Talk. You hit the nail right on the head. COVID-19, it was very clear to me that it's about to be extremely competitive in order to get a job role. Had a meeting this morning with somebody in the financial sector. He has 2 positions open, 384 applicants for one, and the one he just posted yesterday already up to 89 applicants, right? And how do you sort through all that, right? So you have to make yourself different. So why not, let's kind of crowdsource, if you will, in a 7-minute or less video, and that's what Job Talk is all about, and put it out there, dress it up a little bit with some music and graphics and information, and put it on LinkedIn, secondly, Facebook, thirdly, Twitter, and do something different. If you want to get the interview, then you got to do something different. right? People say, well, yeah, I work outside the box. My response to that is I don't have a box, right? You want to get noticed, you want to get people's attention. These are the things that you're going to have to do. Now, all simultaneous to building your network, which means building relationships. And we just talked about that with the uniformed security guard working their way up to being a chief security officer. That's driven by relationships, preceded by building your network, right? So this all is very cyclical and it all ties together. And this is, again, about 40% of my life is helping and volunteering. After 30 plus years with ASIS International and all types of other groups, IHSS, ACFE, ACFCS, IAFCI, ISCPP, hundreds of groups that I've been involved in, right, in our profession. It's about volunteering and helping and giving back. And that's what I'm trying to do. And I'm actually trying to honestly morph this into professional coaching, or like really helping people out there do that in a very formal way. And so we're going to start out with Job Talk and see how that goes. And then spending time with people who want to make an investment in themselves financially to try and grow where they want to go and and then the whole process of how to get there, right? Because the security industry is a big chessboard, right? It's very complicated. So that's where sometimes you need an advisor or a coach to help. And I enjoy doing that. You should do what you enjoy, which goes back to the principles and mantra of Friends of Truck: dream big, know how to have fun, and, well, let's just say get stuff done, right?
Sounds good. Now, I want to kind of park on something that you mentioned, the whole concept of making yourself different, making yourself stand out. And you did touch on social media a little bit. Can we do a little bit of a deeper dive there? What are some of your recommendations or just suggestions of what people should be doing on social media?
Yeah, so let's start with tagging. People don't tag enough. There's a few people out there that have figured it out, but you need to be tagging key groups. So let's talk about LinkedIn first. So you want to tag key groups, key individuals, and companies. Remember, there's companies and groups on LinkedIn. And by identifying them, you can add them in hopes that they'll see it, acknowledge it, comment, or share. And ultimately, that's what you want, is you want people to share. Now, if you're putting out 10 comments a day or posting 10 times a day, too noisy, right? People are just going to get really tired of seeing some of the stuff, and it reduces its credibility in meetings. So the cadence that you pick should be, 2-3 times a week, and make it thoughtful and make it meaningful. And then lastly, you need to be commenting on other people's stuff and sharing that, right? The analytics will pick up on that, right? And slowly the word will get out. So those are 3 quick, easy points on using LinkedIn. Now, Facebook, where LinkedIn is professional, right, and colleagues, Facebook is more social, and it's good to have both. Actually, Facebook is an older demographic, really 30s to 70s. Senior citizens on Facebook, caution, warning, right? That includes my mom. Every now and then I have to clean up a mess. Anyway, Facebook is good because now you get a really good understanding of what people are doing in their life, right? And who they are, and tying into that information, right? So you have your personal Facebook page, which you have to have, and then you can build off of that. Organization page, company page, business page, or if you're just going to create a profile just about you and have people just follow it, there's all kinds of varieties to do that. But again, you need to stay engaged, right? You need to respond to people. And then lastly, Twitter. Twitter is very noisy, in my opinion. With LinkedIn is to Twitter as Facebook is to Instagram. Okay, so you have overlapping pieces there. So every time you use LinkedIn, you'll want to choose Twitter as well to put that information out. So those are some quick tips that I use. Practice with it. If you haven't made at least 100 mistakes or errors, then you're not making progress, as I like to say.
Sounds good. Now, as far as Friends of Chuck and things that you're working on, you touched a little bit on wanting to make that evolution into the coaching side of things. What can we expect to see from Chuck Andrews in the future?
So Chuck Andrews would love to be doing professional coaching and advising of people in the security world, say transition from military and law enforcement or college or from a different industry, right? People who want to actually work in this business. I think I've got enough, and I know I've got enough experience. I got enough failures to be successful. I think I have a few friends that I can count on and lean on, that I can help somebody develop themselves professionally. Now, I've never gotten to this world formally as a business, right, in coaching, because to me it's been pretty noisy. And I want to develop a way that's meaningful to people, right, so that they're actually growing professionally through education, certification, networking, relationships, all of that, so they can build their own brand and name to do the things that they want to do or they think they want to do, but they really shouldn't be doing. Really, right? And you can't do that unless you have that conversation. So that's definitely a part of something that I'd like to, that you're going to see that. I'll make a quick little announcement on your show. I haven't announced this yet.
Okay.
So over a year, the new Friends of Chuck website will be coming out, and it'll include the coaching part of that and some other services as well. And with that, the Friends of Chuck app, take Chuck everywhere you go on your mobile device.
Oh,
That
that's
way
awesome.
you won't forget me. It'll look just like, well, here it is, over here, here it is. It'll look just like that guy. And you just press the button and you can instantly find me anywhere in the world. And whatever you need, A to Z in this business. I always say, I don't know, I do know who does know in the business. And that's kind of what I built around the world. You can't know everything, man. You know, you can't put the whole Library of Congress in your head. So you build the relationships and the network. And as a result of that, for me, it's always been, you know, finances are at the bottom and friendships are at the top, because you can't take that money with you in the end. All you got is your family and your friends, which right now in the world, we need family and we need friends with things that are unfolding around the world right now.
Couldn't agree more. Now, understanding you know that this show focuses mainly on the healthcare security professionals. It's for everyone, but we really dig down on some topics that, you know, focus on that community. So I'm just wondering if you have a message that you want to share with the healthcare security cast community specifically.
Well, listen, they are to be revered and cheered going through COVID-19, because I have heard from many of my friends who are security directors and uniformed security officers. Look, we have this little medical center here in Houston called the Texas Medical Center. It's really big, like Texas, like the biggest in the world. And we got police departments and security and parking control. It's like 650 acres. It's massive, right? 250,000 people down there each day. It's a tough profession to be in, and my hat is off to all of those working down there and trying to keep people alive and well through this. COVID-19 accepted, people still get sick all day long, and I know that the security community around hospitals and research and development campuses, right, in the field of medicine, are really busy. And I would just continue to encourage them to stay the course, right? And no pun intended, stay healthy. That's for sure, because it's tough. It's really tough, and they have risen to the occasion. I've had a chance to talk to several people in this space, and they're incredibly busy. So in the end, my message is to stay the course, right? It's tough, and they're doing an excellent job out there. It's so unique to work in security in the medical world, right? Because between HIPAA and personally identifiable information, they've got their work cut out for them. So keep up the good work.
Thank you for that. Now, is there anything that you want to discuss that I haven't covered as yet?
Let's see. I need your date of birth, social security number. In Canada, do they have any other unique identifiers I should be aware of, Brian? That you could share that. I could go shopping. I know a few people who would love to go shopping. I think on your show, and I don't know if you've done it yet, would like, on the cyber side, the digital side, right? The Port 80 hack. The cyber world is a world that I am in, and I play in the deep dark web. It's really interesting what's going on there, perhaps what's not going on out in the world. And boy, I know in the medical field, that's got to be, I know this for a fact, right? Was involved in some major ransomware events. I wasn't the bad guy. I was the good guy. I know I'm wearing a black hat, no pun, right? White hat, black hat in the cyber world, right? But it's something that's got to be talked about, right? And I'd love to see that on your show, someone from the medical field, IT, IS, and cyber and IS, right? Information security. That'd be great to see here in the future. And I happen to know somebody and friends of Chuck if you need somebody for your show on that.
Well, that'd be excellent. It is something that's
Sure.
in the works. It's one of the topics that I want to get to in these.
Oh, good.
In
So I
these
got
weekly
lucky.
things, so
Good, lucky. All right,
yeah,
awesome.
so we can now. I guess in closing, is there what's the best way to get in touch with Chuck Andrews if we haven't already done so?
Well, I think like the rest of the world, you go to this thing called Google. It's a really interesting box in front of your computer, and you just type in anything, and you just type in Chuck Andrews or Friends of Chuck or Security Talk Now or friendsofchuck.com, or and it'll show up on your landing page. And of course, LinkedIn. That's the first thing, right? If you haven't LinkedIn with me, please do so. It's real easy to find me. Again, go to Google, type in Chuck Andrews or Charles Andrews LinkedIn, and it'll pop up in the first few. If you could connect with me, that'd be awesome. It'd be good to connect with everybody out there.
Well, that's good. It sounds as if you're hinting at you may be searchable somehow online. If we type in Chuck Andrews or Friends of Chuck, we might be able to find you that way.
Yeah, and there's some people in other countries, right, that are constantly sending me profiles that are inappropriate, illegal, and otherwise fake, which we all have to look out for, right? If you know what you're looking for, it's not too hard to discern those and report them and block them. Everybody, as a service message, you have to do both if you want to be effective. So. Yeah. Look me up, and I'm glad to always have business relationships. I do a lot of advising for companies, and instead of taking $1 million and pouring it down a bad hole, I can ensure that you won't spend $1 million on your new technology and pour it down a bad hole. Because again, I understand the surface area of the security industry. And I've done lots of that over the years, sitting on as a board of directors or board of advisors for various companies. And that's what you want. You want people who know people and what's going on in industry. And that's pretty much what I've dedicated. I guess it's going to be close up to 10 years before too long of Friends of Chuck and doing my own thing. And when I left corporate America.
All right. And you know what? I did say in closing with that last question, but I guess in real closing, I want to ask you one last thing about about your involvement with some volunteer associations, specifically ASIS, because I know you've been very involved there. But what are some of the associations you've been involved with, and how they benefited, and what recommendations would you make for someone who's thinking of getting involved?
All right, this comes with a little bias. ASIS International, right, is the world's first, oldest, and largest security profession. If you're going to be in this business, you got to be a member of ASIS because it ties you to everybody in the business. That's the bottom line. A lot of people are out there, and I'll be very transparent. They whine and complain about spending $190 or whatever it cost. My ROI is about 1 day with that $190, truly, because I exercise everything that has been made available to me. Caveat, I said that would come with some bias, right? Because I served on the international board the last 3 years and have returned back just to being a regular volunteer member, right? And enjoying that. Secondly, other groups, ACFE, Associated Certified Fraud Examiners, massive, almost 100,000 members. In the if you work in the financial, the fraud world, you need to become an ACFE and get certified as a CFE. Same is true with ASIS. The gold standard is the CPP, right? And I had the opportunity to do that twice in my life because I didn't turn in all my credits for the many years I had it back in the 80s, 90s, right? And had to do it again. I don't want to do it a third time. But I did do it again and be able to maintain the gold standard as part of that. International Association of Financial Crimes Investigators, right? Great group, very financial oriented. When I was with First Data as the security director for Telecheck back in the day, I had to really be involved in the networking of that world, right, to help me through those relationships. International Society of Crime Prevention Practitioners, ISCPP, in the crime prevention world, they're very big. Crime prevention was my whole life for many, many years as a crime prevention officer. Everything from Nancy Reagan, Just Say No, to McGruff the Crime Dog, to DARE, to Operation ID, Neighborhood Watch, all of that, right? And all the organizations that belong there. International Association of Chiefs of Police, National Sheriff's Association. There's lots of these different groups. Get engaged, get in those groups, get involved, and your network will grow. And equally, the opportunities will grow with it. You just can't sit back. You have to be actionable in order to make things happen.
Great. Well, thank you for some timely advice, Chuck, and thank you for taking the time to be on the show. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me, and we look forward to having you at Friends of Chuck.
And this concludes another episode of the Healthcare Security Cast. Join us in a couple of days when we're covering a topic as selected by you, the listener. Thank you again for your support, and until next time, stay safe and take care.